Okay, so here's the deal. You will survive the worst thing that ever happens to you. And I think you should be happy about that. So I know it's a weird thing to say, but it just hit me this morning. I was thinking about just what I'm doing with my life and how I'm going to move forward and, how I'm going to help other people because I realize more and more when I help other people, it helps me, makes me feel better, making other people feel better. And this thought concept may be helpful to somebody out there, hopefully. I know it made me feel a lot better. So it's been a year since my wife passed away. And a year before that, months before we even knew she was even sick, she was perfectly healthy as far as we knew. And our life was great. Business was doing well, kids are thriving, just the American dream. We're living it, self-employed, nobody's telling us what to do. We come and go when we want, we're just, everything's great. But still, I'm living daily with this anxiety, this stress. I'm just worried, like, what happens if the business suddenly goes downhill? Or, when the pandemic happened, I thought maybe civilization was going to just fall apart and there was going to be chaos in the streets. I'm just having these potentially negative thoughts just going through my mind. And I knew they were wrong, and I knew that I needed to figure out a way to ease my mind, so I tried meditation, did all types of things, just I did a lot of research and figured out, okay, these are the things that I need to do to get better. But still, in spite of it all, I knew that I was blessed and I knew that my life was great, but still, first thing in the morning when I would wake up, the anxiety would hit. I would think like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do the other thing. Life things. And I wasn't making up things to be worried about. I mean, these were real things. You got to work, you got to pay bills, you got to run the business, you got to pay taxes, all that type of stuff. So these are like actual real things. I wasn't, making up things in my mind to cause me anxiety. This was just life. So, I would say I was happy most of the time, but just with this underlying layer of anxiety. And Lene, my wife, she got to a point to where she was able to let go of almost all of that. And it used to piss me off sometimes because she would say, like, hey man, you're almost there, but you gotta let go. You gotta let go of the fear. You gotta figure out a way to break through so that you can actually enjoy your life. And she'd say, I'm there. And like I said, it would piss me off sometimes because I was like, well, that's kind of like, looking down on me, like, hey, I'm trying here. I'm just as smart as you are. I'm doing all the same things that you are. Yet I'm still not able to make it to that next level of just living with ease. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to have more money or more fame or more anything. I just wanted to be comfortable where I was, like just that's it. That was enough. But for some reason, I couldn't get there. And Lene, my wife, she had gone through a lot of stuff in her life. And she got to the point to where she was like, you know what? I'm thankful for all the terrible things I had to deal with, for all the shitty things that people did to me during my life. I'm thankful for the things that happened, and I'm actually thankful for the people who did the things those people were my teachers. They showed me what I was really supposed to be. And I understood that intellectually, but at the same time, I still harbored, nah, if that, MF, or, like whatever, I don't have to hate them, but at the same time, I ain't ever going to love them. But she was beyond that. And, she would sometimes say, what are you so worried about? What's the worst thing that could happen to you? And always it was like, the business crashes and we have to sell our house and we're homeless on the street or whatever. Me and you and the girls. And she's like, yeah, that could happen. That could certainly happen. That is a possibility that's out there for us. But we'll be okay. We'll survive. It's not going to kill you. And, I would just be like, yeah, I know that. But just the fact that that's out there, that that's a possibility, that that's a potential future for us, it just creates anxiety for me. So, she used to tell me, like, our lives are great. And I know you're trying to get there. You're trying to get to that point where you can just exist and not have to strive or not have to feel like you're lacking in some way. And she would tell me, I really hope that something terrible doesn't have to happen to you for you to get to that point. And I would say, I hope so too. I really don't want something terrible to happen to me. Well, I'm thinking something terrible happening to me would be like my darkest fears, being broke and homeless on the street. And that didn't happen. Something much, much worse happened. Lene died. She died. And that was not even in my realm of possible things that could happen, possible terrible things that could happen to me or happen to our family. But it happened. And it was almost like, she was preparing me. She's like, maybe the worst thing has to happen to you before you can actually understand, life is right now. Life is not the future. Life is not the past. Life is not what the worst thing that could happen to you is. It's not that. And the fact that I'm here right now at this moment, able to talk to you through this camera and the internet is amazing. And I'm not really crying, just kind of a little bit. I didn't think I was gonna, but what the hell? It's all part of this. So the worst thing that could possibly happen happened. And I'm still here. And I'm able to talk about it. And I'm able to see how she was right. I'm gonna make it. I am making it. I am living. I'm smiling right now. So that just lets me know that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. And I just want to let you know that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. You just gotta let go of the fear. I'll tell you one more little story about Lene and me being fearful. And she tried everything to, get to the point that she was at, to have this breakthrough, this enlightenment, just total awareness. And one of the things she tried was psychedelic therapies. And she went on a mushroom trip early one morning. And when it was all said and done, she came to me and said, "I got a message for you." And I was like, "You got a message for me?" I was like, "I wasn't on the trip with you. But she said the message was she had met fear. She had come face to face with fear, the entity of fear. And she said that it spoke to her and told her that it was not here to cause us harm, me, her, and it was here only to help us, to steer us away from potential harm. But at the same time, it wanted her to know that it was not capable of leading, that it really needed us to take the lead, and that it would just be there in case we needed a guardrail, in case we came up against something really hard, and it would just allow us to know in that moment, oh, this is a bad situation, turn back, change course, whatever. But it was not capable of leading. It was not capable of telling us where to go in life or making decisions for us. She said it was kind of like a dog, like a guard dog. You couldn't lead with the dog, especially if the dog was not highly trained. You had to train it. You had to put some guardrails on it. You had to only use it when you had exhausted all of your personal capabilities to make decisions, to move forward in life. And sometimes you just have to go back down to this base primal level of decision making, and then fear would tell you yes or no. So I realized in that moment that I had been letting fear make a lot of decisions in my life. I had charted my course based on fear. What is the way I should go, the way I should be, based on being afraid of life. And now, more than ever, I realize that that is not the way to live. I loved Lene. I still love Lene. I love my kids. I love the rest of my family, friends. And I feel like that is the basis for making decisions, moving through life and the world. Positivity, love. It's almost embarrassing for me to say those words, but I have to, because I feel like there's somebody out there that needs to hear it. And the only reason I would not say those words is because I was scared of something. There's nothing to be scared of. All right. Love y'all. Thanks for listening. Dang, I'm going to have a good day.